All right, we are back again. Welcome back to the Omni Wellness Studio podcast. Got a returning guest, Richard Eberhardt. Eberhardt. How many times does people say Eberhardt?
A bunch.
Sorry, jack it up, bro.
That's all right.
Eberhardt. Yeah, man. God, I think the last time you were on was about 6 months ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to go back and see what episode number that was, but that was the one where basically, and you actually still are in our top 5 listen to episodes.
Very good.
If not good. Top 3.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are interested in, the diabetes and insulin stuff. And a lot of listeners probably, are battling with that. And I kind of want this episode to kind of more revolve around strategies that people can do that's either pre-diabetic or diabetic, that's fighting that battle, because as well as I know, the information they're getting from just their main doctor is probably not the best. It seems like it's just run of the mill. I got some friends that are type 2, and they just kind of get run through the assembly line at their doctor's visits, and they might get a packet of information and they're sent on their way. There's not really any true guidance.
Yeah. And I mean, you think about when you go to your doctor, how many minutes are you actually face to face with them?
Yeah. And just a few minutes,
and so it's hard to, they throw out little key terms here and there, and our brain takes in, I've heard people say that a teacher has to say the same thing 7 times before everybody gets it.
Right.
Now, you might have one person that picked it up on the first time, and you might have had, 30% pick it up on the second time. But, how many times you go to your doctor and your doctor says, well, your labs aren't good. Well, your brain's already put a bad thought in, and now you're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my problem.
Yeah.
I'm a 44-year type 1 diabetic. I started really early. So
yeah, you were telling me earlier before we started recording that you found out at 8 years old.
Yep.
That you were type 1 diabetic. So what does that feel like? Like, how do you wake up one day at 8 years old and be like, man, something's off?
I was sick for a few weeks before, not feeling good, losing weight. My mother was a big researcher, so she looked up all these signs and symptoms. Yeah. And so I remember her coming to the school to pick me up and go, hey, we're going to the doctor.
So what year was this?
1980.
So there wasn't no Dr. Google.
No, there was not.
There was libraries and magazines and books.
Exactly. It was lots and lots of reading. My mother loves to read, so she was able to go through some of these books and figure out signs and symptoms. And she was like, oh, I think he's got diabetes. And
what do you remember feeling? Like, other than being sick, did you have like the whole peeing a lot and dry mouth and stuff like that?
Yeah, constantly drinking. Started wetting the bed at 8 years old. Hadn't wet the bed in years. And all of a sudden, that's coming back up. So, what's the first thing they do? Oh, well, you can't have anything to drink after 7 o'clock. Well, it just wasn't, I wasn't drinking too much. It was, my body actually had a metabolic issue that it was going through. And so my first feeling when they told me I had diabetes is the only thing I heard was die. You're going to the hospital. I was going to die.
Man, that's scary. 8 years old.
Yeah. And then, my mother was the structured one, and my dad was okay, this is just something. It's not gonna, this is not gonna be, it's just something you have. It's not going to be a problem.
Did anybody in your family have type 1? Was this hereditary, you think, passed down from your mom or your dad?
Yeah, and my dad's adopted, so we don't
don't
know his background. My mother's side of the family, we have a lot of type 2 diabetes prevalent there, but there's a big difference between type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is insulin dependent. From day one, they have to take insulin to control it. Type 2 is a lifestyle. It is what you're eating and how you're moving.
But through your experiences and knowledge, you can help both.
Oh, absolutely. Because So my story, type 1 diabetic. I was really active as a young kid, starting at 8. I played football, rode motorcycles, fished, hunt.
Pretty active.
Yeah. And then high school goes away, get into the professional world, became a paramedic. I was still active, but that activity level starts to drop down. I then left the EMS world after 21 years and went to nursing school. And I went to nursing school to be a diabetic educator. That was my sole point of doing it. I become a nurse, and I go to the doctor one day, and they go, "You're a dual diabetic," and I'm like,
"What does that even mean?" And
that's what I said. I said I'm a diabetic educator. I said I've never read that, and my doctor said, "Well, let me tell you, I got some literature here for you. There's some articles that were written."
That's a real thing?
Dual? And it is. And it's
like type 1 and type 2?
So it's a type 1 that has type 2 tendencies.
Jeez.
So I was taking insulin. I was not moving enough. I was eating the wrong diet. And so I had type 2 tendencies, which means that my triglycerides were elevating. My liver was getting fatty liver.
Yeah. Yep.
Insulin resistance was horrible. So, just over 5 years ago, I was almost 300 pounds. And I was taking a huge amount of insulin, to control my diabetes, and my diabetes was under control. I would go to the doctor and they were like, "Oh, your A1C is under 6.5. But I was taking way too much insulin for that.
Right.
So a light bulb went off. I said, I've got to do something. And they said, well, you need to eat no carbs and you need to move more. So
is that still the general information you think
that is the information? I hear it every day.
And
people
honestly,
call me
mainstream. Like honestly, before I knew anything about it, I always associated with diabetes with, carbs,
right.
Diabetics can't have carbs.
Yeah. Which is absolutely
don't eat any carbs,
yeah.
And that's why a lot of people that I think start hearing the word diabetic or pre-diabetic, they go to this keto diet,
right.
where they're eating nothing but fat bombs.
And so let me, I'll play the nurse for a second.
Yeah.
So when you do that, that is a automatic fix for today. Okay. But what that's doing is that's building a lipid panel that's going to take months to elevate to a dangerous level. So what happens is you don't eat carbs, but you're eating a huge amount of meat.
It's like more, and a lot of processed stuff too.
Exactly.
Like a lot of people that do keto do rely more on the ultra processed,
right.
Beef, meats and
right.
stuff like that. Cheeses out of
they're eating
beef jerky.
Yes, they're eating the beef jerky that is. They added oil to it.
Chicken salad.
Yes,
a lot of clients that I first started working with that think pork rinds and chicken salad is healthy because it's low carb.
Exactly, that will fix the problem today, but
right.
It's not going to get you to your final goal. So that works for about 3 weeks. I know this for a fact. I've done it multiple times just to see, and sure enough, after the 3-week mark, all of a sudden my blood sugar would start going up. What's happening is all that fat you're eating, if your body's not breaking it down, it's putting it in the liver. Once the liver's full, it puts it in the muscle.
Dang.
So now you get people that, there was an article written in the 80s that endocrinologists were looking at people and they were diagnosing people's body style. What does their body shape look like? If you look like an apple or a pear, you're insulin resistant. So, I was in high school. I was 6 feet tall and thin. So I didn't look like that.
Right.
But if we fast forward and we get to 5 years ago when I'm almost 300 pounds, I look like an apple. I'm holding everything in the center.
Right.
I still had arm definition. You could still see muscles there. You could see muscles in my legs. But basically from mid-thigh to my chest was all the weight. And so what had happened, I had followed this low carb for a long period of time. And my body had completely loaded itself up with all the stored energy, which is what fat is.
So you're basically fat logged instead of water logged.
Exactly.
You're like a sponge.
Right.
That's like soaked with grease.
Yep.
Or triglycerides.
Yes.
Fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so fat is a good thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to tell people that, get rid of every fat, but carbohydrates are different and fats are different.
The way they're metabolized.
Absolutely. So carb, if you eat a plum, okay, well, that's nothing but carbohydrates and fiber. It's got vitamins and minerals in it. Mm-hmm. Fat can be a little piece of butter on your toast, or it can be processed fat from, let's just say you're cooking everything in vegetable oil.
Yeah, or just like your typical fast food French fry.
Exactly,
Yep.
exactly. So that's there's a big difference in those two types of fats,
Right.
and so they told me I needed to move more. So I said, okay, well, I'm gonna buy a backpack from REI and some boots, and I'm gonna start walking. And I started walking everywhere, and decided I was going to hike the Georgia section of the Appalachian Trail.
At 300 pounds?
Well, I had lost down. I was 256 at Springer Mountain, which is the start. And I went to Bly Gap, North Carolina. And when I got done, I weighed 256. I didn't lose any weight. And my labs were not looking great. And I'm like, I'm not doing something
And
right.
this is the low carb approach.
Yes. And I was literally moving, I would say, probably in the neighborhood of 15,000 steps a day, 7 days a week.
So even all the movement was enough to really shift where you needed to be.
Right.
Man.
And so that's when the big light bulb went off. And I said, I'm going to change everything. And so I did a 6-day fast. I drank water. I put some Himalayan pink salt in it, and then my wife got into Celtic salt, put Celtic salt in my water every morning in my black coffee.
So what's the difference between Celtic salt and like pink Himalayan salt with all the different minerals?
So that's the thing. It's just minerals. It's just the mineral load and where it comes from.
Versus just your regular table iodine
So,
salt, which we need both, to a certain extent for like thyroid health and stuff like that.
Yep.
Or you can get iodine in other areas than table salt.
Right. And so if you're eating food from the ground,
Right.
Jesus food, things that are grown,
Yep.
that's got iodine in it.
Yeah, it does.
So, that was, I was following this. I did 6 days. It was tough.
I guess so, man.
A lot of white knuckling.
Especially, when we're so used to eating 3 square meals a day or eating every 3 or 4 hours.
As a diabetic educator, I was literally teaching people and myself that you're supposed to eat basically 6 times a day, but it wasn't working. So I did my first 6-day fast.
So hold that thought. I gotta bring up something.
Right.
I mean, no offense to this, but like you were an educator at 300 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How does that make you feel looking back, man?
I literally would walk out of a patient's room and see my reflection in the window, and I'm like,
it's like,
how are people listening to me?
It's no different than like you see some personal trainers that are overweight, really overweight,
And that,
not knocking anybody, but like it's just kind of, it's kind of like if you're gonna preach that and teach that, you kind of need to look the part a little bit.
Oh yeah,
just.
And that was another one of those
light bulbs
going off that I've got to do something.
Right, I got you.
And so, being in the medical world, the first time I did a fast, I didn't tell anybody. It was a secret. People would say, "Hey, do you want something?" I'm like,
No, I just ate. Yeah.
Well, no. I walked around with chewing gum in my mouth, and I'm like, oh, I just put gum in my mouth, so it's not going to taste good anyway.
Right.
You know, and so my first 6-day fast goes by, and 3 weeks maybe, my wife lost me in the store. And then she was like, I lost you. I literally looked right at you and saying, well, my husband's wearing that color shirt, but that's not him.
I'm assuming because you were looking different.
In 21 days after I had done a 6-day fast, I shrunk. I really didn't lose a lot of weight. I just shrunk. Something happened metabolically. So that kicked it into gear. Here comes another one. And then I read the Bible. I hear all in the Bible they're talking about fasting. Isaiah 58 talks about fasting.
Well, there's a hold that thought. I just went on a wellness retreat a few months ago, and a group of guys there were telling me about this book called The Phoenix Protocol.
Yeah.
You want to look it up.
Yeah.
The guy teaches you how to do a dry fast.
Yes.
I'm talking like 0. And so one of the guys that I went on that trip with, he got back. He committed to us in that group. He said, when I get back home, I'm gonna do this 6-day dry fast and document it. And he did. Right. He went through with it, man.
Yeah.
And he would upload a selfie or a video of him talking every day. He would say, day number 1, day number 2.
Yeah.
And by like day number 3, you could start seeing some
stuff. You see it
changing his face and his eyes. Day number 4, you could tell he was really, really struggling.
Yeah.
They talk about how, and you can't really do anything active that week. You can imagine he took off work. He's going outside barefoot and grounding.
Yep.
I think he's able to get into some water, like submerge himself and get some vitamin D.
Right.
Read. It's supposed to be just a week of just meditation and kind of resetting your mind and body, physically, mentally, spiritually. And he went through the whole 6 days, man. Nothing to drink, and something about the science behind it is the whole you can't go without water for so many hours is a myth, and he proved it. He proved it. I mean, he says like your body will start breaking down fat for H2O or something like that.
So fat is loaded with moisture,
right? Yeah.
So
you got a lot of moisture on you.
You got it there. The trick is you've got to get your body to figure out how to get back to it.
And disclaimer, I'm not telling anybody on the show listening to do a dry fast. Don't do that.
I'm telling you now that if I'm fixing my 6-day fast as a type 1 diabetic, an RN on an insulin pump, I was doing a lot of manipulation with my medicine.
Right.
I'm also wearing a continuous glucose monitor. So I see the blood sugar on my watch. It's on my phone. My wife has access to seeing my blood sugar. So there was a lot of...
Yeah, so if you're going to try to do a fast, educate yourself some more on it.
And this is... You need a coach.
Yeah, you need to get somebody to guide you through it.
It is very important that you have a coach. But so I ended up doing like 3 6-day fasts in a year, and then I stepped forward and I did a 40-day Lent fast.
How does that work?
So Lent starts on sunset on Fat Tuesday, the day before Ash Wednesday, and it goes every day of the week except for Sunday. Every Sunday is considered a little Easter until you get to Easter, and then it's over. Okay. So I ate no food except on Sunday.
For 40 days.
For 40 days. I did that and so it ends up being about 7 weeks. That was huge. That was enormous amount of discipline. And, I'm going to be honest with you. It got to the point where like day 20, I'm like, this is not hard at all. This is easy. I've removed the handcuffs to food.
I know, man. And the handcuffs with food is strong, man.
But I'm just like your friend went through, doing that. He gets to day 3 and he is struggling. Day 4, he's killing. Look, I got to day 37 and I was dying. I could literally go outside and I could smell.
Yeah, he said he could smell things.
I could smell pizza. I'm like, what?
Where's that even at?
Where's that coming from?
That's your body's natural survival instincts kicking in to sharpen your smell so you can go hunt and kill.
Yes. And
find food.
So when I got done with that fast, numbers on A1C, so anything over 5.7 is considered pre-diabetic. You get over 6.5, that is diabetes. A type 1 diabetic, to be in good control, needs to be under 7. Excellent control is under 6.5. I finished my 40-day fast, went to the doctor the next week. All of my now I'll be honest with you, my lipid panel dropped really low. I mean, my body burned up all the fat reserves it could. And my hemoglobin A1C was 5.7. Okay, so remember that 5.7 is the pre-diabetes, but for a type 1 diabetic, that's like almost unheard of. Well, let's fast forward a year. Everything that I learned during that is I built a learning system, 5 pillars, 5 steps. And as I did that, at the end of that first year after my fast, I go to the doctor and my hemoglobin A1C is 5.3.
Man.
I'm not even in the range of diabetes. All right. So let's fast forward another 6 or 7 months. My A1C is 4.9 with no low blood sugars.
Wow.
So my insulin consumption at the start of my journey was over 100 units. I was probably closer to 120 every day. We jump forward 5 years, and I consume somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 35 units a day.
Very little.
So back to where my body should be.
So for a normal, or better than a regular type 1.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, not even in the range of having diabetes.
Right.
And I eat tons of carbs. So, but all of my carbs that I eat, and I know social media, I'm on several accounts, and I see dietitians and educators trying to tell people, if you have diabetes, if you're going to eat carbohydrates, you need to pair it with protein and fat.
Right, to slow down the insulin spike, I guess.
So
is their methodology
the last time you went to fill your truck up with gas, did you just put a quart in and then put 5 gallons in a can and you stopped at every red light and put a little bit more gas in your tank?
No.
Okay. So why not eat the carb and have your muscle and fat ratio in your body to a correct level to where your body uses that energy the way it's supposed to,
without it being paired with something.
Right.
Yeah.
So the reason a fat buffers that blood sugar from going up doesn't stop it. It just buffers it for a period of time. And the reason, if we think about a cell, so think that you're holding a tennis ball in your hand. That's a blood cell. Well, on that blood cell, there are receptor sites for insulin. Insulin can touch it. And when insulin touches it, the glucose, the carbs that you ate, can shoot into the cell. Well, if the glucose is inside the cell, your blood sugar is normal.
Right. It can get in there and get used for energy.
It's being used the way it's supposed to be used. All right. Now let's take the exact same tennis ball, and let's say you're going to eat carbs, but you're going to add peanut butter to it because you were told you need to have protein and fat added with a carb. So now that tennis ball is inside a plastic bag. Everything bounces off of it. It can't get to it. It can't touch it. So that's what fat does. I am a big lover of fat. And the reason is I understand it.
Right.
So one of my pillars we'll talk about in a second is knowing what you eat. So we get things from nuts. And the biggest thing we get from nuts is fat. Well, if you eat Brazil nuts, 4 Brazil nuts give you enough magnesium for your day.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
And then if you added some walnuts to that, and when I say add some walnuts, I'm talking 5 or 6, that is actually enough fat for you to go 12 hours.
Right.
If that's what you're doing. So we live in North Georgia. So we do have bears here.
Yep.
So how do bears survive all winter in hibernation? They literally don't move. And the reason they survive is because right before hibernation, they eat nothing but fat. They don't eat, they're not out there eating meat. They're doing nothing but getting in the trees and eating the acorns.
Wow.
And they do a fat load.
I didn't know bears ate acorns.
That's all they eat. That's all they eat in the fall.
Wow.
And they eat as many of them as they can. That way, when they go to hibernation, their body will break that fat down really slowly to keep their body functioning.
Mm.
And when we do this for people with diabetes, I'm not saying anything bad about any educator out there, but if you can't, at the end of a year, tell your client that you're better,
right,
without criticizing them, and I was bad about doing that. I'm like, I'd see them in the hospital over and over and over again. And we talked about this.
Yeah.
And I had this, I kept seeing where doctors and nurses, they would use a term that I can't stand. You ever want to make me mad? Just say it. And it's non-compliance. And I hate it.
The client's just being non-compliant, or the patient?
They're not being non-compliant. They don't understand what you're saying.
Right.
You're saying things, and we're back to this. I can tell you over and over again that fat's bad, but you do need fat.
Right.
So what people start hearing is they focus on the blood sugar issue. That's where, oh, well, I'm going to eat a bag of pork rinds. Well, okay, so the pork rind is actually just the fat skin of a pig.
Yeah.
Well, then how do they cook it?
They fry it, right?
Well, they're frying it. So you're adding more fat to it.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely correct. I can eat that. If I was having a low blood sugar and I ate a bag of pork skins, I'm going to get worse.
Right.
You know, my blood sugar is not going to go up. But if I'm out moving every day and you eat carbohydrates that your body can break down very quickly, your body will use all that up. So I can eat sourdough bread and go outside and work in the garden for 20 minutes. And sometimes, it depends on how much work I'm going to plan on doing.
Right.
I might not take any insulin. None.
Dang, okay.
And my blood sugar won't have a problem. If I'm going, like, I'm married, we go on date nights. We had a date night last night and we had pizza.
Heck yeah.
And I didn't have to take a lot of insulin. And when we got home, we went for a walk. So the insulin that I used was very, very small and my blood sugar didn't go crazy.
Wow, man. Why do you think the fasting helps? And I've heard also from a more micro standpoint that intermittent fasting can help somebody with diabetes.
It can.
Does it resensitize? It kind of resets some stuff, don't it?
So when you go through a fasting period, your body starts using its stored energy, which is all the fat. And once it uses that up, your body is able to maintain that rapid metabolism rate where when you're eating stuff, it's going to the cell and being used for energy.
Right.
Intermittent fasting is great. The problem comes doing intermittent fasting the same way every day. You need to rotate it.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was listening to a guy speak about that, and that's what he said. He says if you think about the word intermittent fasting, they originally used that word because it was supposed to be very spontaneous.
Right.
Like, not the same thing every day.
So I did a challenge on my personal Facebook page for Lent this year. So in March and April, I got people to volunteer. I made a little short form. I said, we're going to do OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. And we're going to do 1 meal a day for the period of Lent, which this past year, that was 47 days they were going to have to do this. And I had a lot of people volunteer. I had tons of people volunteer and then that never talked to me. But I had people that did talk to me on a regular basis, called me on the telephone.
Yeah.
Hey, this eating one meal a day, this is killing me. And I had it broke down into 6 weeks to where I could, every week was a different challenge. And you're still doing one meal.
Right.
And I told them, I'm not going to tell you what to eat. You eat what you want. And then we're going to build on it during this period of time. Well, one of the weeks, the challenge was whatever meal you're normally eating that you've done for the past 2 weeks.
Right.
Can't be that meal for 2 days. So you got to pick a different one. And then the next week, we were going to see if we could get people to do 36 hours of fasting. So you eat breakfast on Monday.
Right.
And that's it. You don't eat anything else. You drink all your water. That's important. And then on Tuesday, you don't eat anything until after 1 p.m.
Man.
So that would be your meal. So you would actually get into a 36-hour fast. Well, once you get to that 36-hour window, your body starts doing autophagy. And autophagy means auto eating. That's if you break it down. And that means that the body eats free radicals. So the cells that are basically precancer cells, your body will eat them first. They are the easiest energy they can get to. So once they eat all those up, the only thing that's left is to eat fat.
Right.
And then I made a challenge that you have to pick a day, one day during the week, that your meal is not going to consist of animal protein. But you still have to walk every day. That was one of the deals. You needed to drink water and you needed to move 30 minutes every single day. And when we did this, I had one of my friends that had gained a lot of weight. He said, okay, well, what do I do? Do I eat nuts for protein? I'm like, well, you can have black beans.
Right.
You can, you can have any type of legume to be, your protein source for that day. Mm-hmm. And at the end, I had one person that let me know that he had lost 37 pounds in a 46-day window.
Jeez.
Eating one meal a day. And he says, I'm going to be honest, it could have been a lot better, but I had 2 planned vacations. And so on those planned vacations, I did not follow one meal a day. He said, he called me and he was like, what am I going to do? I said, simple. I said, pick 2.
Right.
And don't punish yourself.
Yeah.
Still do your steps. Make sure you're getting 30 minutes of movement in. Yep. And just do 2 during those 2 little extended weekends that you're doing. We still lost 37 pounds.
That's incredible.
I had another one that lost just over 30 pounds and came off his blood pressure medicine. And all by just changing the way they're eating.
So a lot of, I can eat breakfast and 3 or 4 hours later, I got some hunger going on.
Right.
So essentially humans you can push past that. You're not really you ain't starving in 3 or 4 hours. You gotta dig deep mentally.
Right. Well, and the one thing that you have to dig deep mentally through is social media. You have been taught so long that you're supposed to eat breakfast.
Yep.
You're supposed to eat lunch. Yep. You're supposed to eat supper. Well, if we think back through time in the age of inventions and all the workers left the farm and were going to cities to work in plants, well, those plants design the eating schedule. You eat breakfast before you go to work.
Yep.
We're going to make people work for 4 hours, and then we're going to give them an hour break to eat lunch.
Yeah.
And then they're going to work till 5 o'clock and go home and eat again. They designed the eating schedule. That's not the way humans did it.
No, you're right. I'm almost confident 1,000 years ago there was no scheduled eating.
No. So. You look at back to the Bible,
Yep.
Jesus walked to go to town to eat,
Yeah.
But people don't live like that now.
Right.
People don't have the ability to break that thought in their mind that they have to do this. I see tons of hikers that, they pack their bag, they go to their first campsite and they have supper. Well, the next morning they eat breakfast, and then they take something and they put it in their front of their pack the way they don't have to take their pack off, and they can literally get to a granola bar or an apple
right
at lunch. But when you talk to them, they're like, hey, I made it till 4:00 before I actually.
Yeah.
And then the reason I ate something then is I was tired of taking steps. So I just wanted to stop for a second.
Right.
And I'm like, so if I do this and I walk, the hunger goes away. Well, the hunger goes away because when you say you eat breakfast and then you have this hunger, I challenge you for this next week, literally walk out of your shop and walk up to Turner McCall and back. And if you're hungry then eat.
No, I actually found that to be true, because sometimes I'll wake up hungry.
Yep.
Just a little hunger, stomach kind of growling. Well, I like doing fasted cardio. Not because I think there's any kind of magical fat loss effects to it, but I just like the way it makes me feel.
Sure.
So I'll notice, like what you just said, if I just get on up and drink me some water and go to the gym and get going on some cardio, even during the cardio and even afterwards, that hunger's went away.
Right.
It's pretty cool,
because your brain operates off of, it needs a reward. So if you eat, your brain releases dopamine. Well, when you go and move, the same thing happens.
True.
So your brain's being fed, the good hormone, and you just got to it a different way.
What do you think is how? I think there's some great. So if you got if I'm connecting all these dots correctly, if you have a person that's got a lot of body fat on them, whether they're 300 pounds or 250, whatever that may be, but just excessive, and let's just say that, that they're not pre-diabetic yet, but they still got some high visceral fat levels. They're if they keep going in that direction, they will be, pre-diabetic.
It's coming.
It's coming. Let's just say they're in a gym, they're working out, but the body fat is still not really wanting to go anywhere. You're saying that really the priorities need to shift for now on some ways or angles to attack just getting that fat off the best way possible. And if intermittent fasting or prolonged fasting is one of those tools to speed up that process, to go ahead and pull 30 or 40 pounds of body fat off, that's an okay method.
Yes. All
right. And because the biggest thing I guess that a lot of people like myself are concerned about is the whole I don't want them to burn a lot of muscle off.
Right.
Because who wants to lose muscle? But I'm kind of on the fence about that too, because I'm like, I'm not saying this is true, you can tell me if I'm wrong, if a human being has 50 pounds of excessive body fat on their frame, and of course there's some skeletal muscle, and if they can pull off most of that 40 or 50 pounds of body fat in, say, 5 months, and let's just say they do burn up a little bit of muscle tissue, to me that's a pretty good trade-off.
Yes.
Because at that point, once they pull the fat off, then you can find a maintenance mode and start building the new muscle.
Right.
At that point.
So even when I did 40 days of fasting, and when if I do a 6-day water fast, one thing that I don't leave out is movement. Moving every day. Moving minimum of 10,000 steps.
So moving is going to help preserve.
And so what happens is you're making the muscle fire, and the body's not going to burn
something's being
muscles
used.
that is being used. And so then you're getting the body to where it will burn that fat and put it back for energy. True. Fat is the most energy dense food.
So I get what you're saying. A person A that is doing intermittent or prolonged fasting that's not moving,
right,
is going to burn a heck of a lot more muscle than a person that's doing fasting methods that is moving.
Right.
Walking, resistance training, whatever it is, muscles being used. If you don't use it, you lose it.
You're absolutely correct. And the body is designed, it's the greatest machine ever made. I mean,
you're right. I don't think the body would probably really be built. I think God's a little bit smarter than that.
He is.
It wouldn't choose muscle
right
to burn first.
And honestly, the body, there's medical conditions out there that the body gets into certain bad, like if the body gets burned, the body will burn all of the muscle up and it will actually destroy the kidneys. So patients come into the hospital, we can do lab work and we're like, hey, we're having some major kidney damage because of this. The body is not going to naturally do that. It's not, you're not eating, the body's not going to eat all of the muscle up. Think about your heart beating and your diaphragm, you're breathing all day, every day.
Right.
Your body's not going to burn that muscle up, but it will get to the point that it'll start burning muscle. And that, I know there's some work out there with certain scales that you can step on. I've got a life scale at my house that I can step on and tell me how much water's there, how much fat's there. When I challenge, I do notice that it will say that my muscle's decreasing, but yet I'm walking faster. So
right.
I don't know if that's
it's a lot of these scales that you're talking about. We have one at the shop, of course, and from what I understand, it depends a lot on the hydration levels in your body to get those results. So I'll have clients that come in that will do initial weigh-in, right? And let's just say on that particular day that they weighed in, they're overly hydrated for whatever reason. They ate something salty the night before, had a high carb meal, cheat meal, pizza out with the family. Yeah. So they're holding a little bit more water. All right, it's going to measure this much muscle mass based off all the stuff going on in their body. Well, they come back a month later, and let's just say they're under normal conditions. They didn't have a cheat meal. Well, they're going to have a little bit less water in their system, and it's the scan will actually show that they've lost muscle.
Right.
Because of the differences in the fluid level. So I tell people now that's probably what's going on, because a lot of them will get defeated. They'll come in and be like, man, I'm doing something wrong.
You can't fight health with one number.
No, you can't.
It can't be.
And I tell them, look, as fancy as this scale is, and I tell them all this from day one, that this is a really fancy scale, but don't put all your eggs in this one basket. Don't focus on, because it's just like anything else. It's going to have fluctuations. It's just another measuring stick for us.
It is more information. Yep. And the more information you've got, the better you're going to be.
Yeah, we're going to focus more on how you're feeling, how your clothes are fitting, your measurements, your pictures.
Right.
Of course, this scale, and then, all that stuff combined. We're never going to focus just on one.
Right. I mean, so my journey, I brought it down to I kept a journal. So it's important if you're going to go on a journey to get better health, you need to learn how to write.
Log everything.
Yeah.
Track and journal.
Just journal it down. I'm not telling you that you've got to have some sort of fancy computer program. Yeah. Literally a notebook and put the date at the top of it. If you want to put today's weight, put that down. But for me, it was how was my blood sugar during the night, and if how I felt the day before. I would write today about yesterday.
Gotcha.
Because I needed to know, how did I feel yesterday? Nice thing about my insulin pump, I can go back and look at history, and with my continuous glucose monitor, I've got a history bank on it too that I can back up and look. So I decided that with this, I'm gonna have to have steps to get to better health. So step one is hydration. We've talked about it multiple times. The body's made of water. So
how much water? Is there a, because, you know, I've been in this industry for 20 years now. And at one point it was like, take your body weight and cut it in half. And that's how many ounces.
Yes. So that's what I operate off of.
And then I have people that says, scratch all that. You just literally need to pay attention to the color of your urine. As long as it's a clear to yellow tint, you're good. But I find that weird because I myself will struggle with water intake sometimes, you know, and I feel like I could drink more water, but my urine's always looks good. Yeah. So I don't know if I can even trust that.
You know, that's just that's just one measuring option doing that.
But I do agree that most people do need to drink more water. Man, I had a girl the other day tell me she knows she needs to drink more water. She says she could sip on one 17-ounce bottle of water all day. That'd get her by through the whole day.
But what else is she drinking?
True.
And so all that other stuff is actually dehydrating the body. You know, the body's fighting to you can't drink coffee. And, you know, what's the main ingredient in coffee? Water.
Caffeine.
But now you've got caffeine and now it's a dark color. And so the body can't use that. It can't see through it. And then all the sodas that people drink, whether it's sugar-free or not.
Right.
I'm not saying you can't have that stuff, but, you know, my step one is you've got to hydrate. And I operate on the body weight divided by 2.2 gives you your weight in kilograms. That needs to be how many ounces you drink.
So if you weigh 200 pounds, you need 100 ounces of water a day.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah.
You know, if you're sweating a lot and you've got a really strenuous job, you might need more than that.
And I have found that when I started putting my salt in my water, you're not like at first, when you first start doing it, your body is like, whoa, this is not normal. So your body's just flushing everything out. But when you put salt in there, salt helps that water get into the cell.
Yeah.
So then that kind of cuts down on the going to the bathroom.
And that's what I tell a lot of times. You'll see guys in the gym carrying a big half gallon or gallon of water. And that's the problem is it's just water. I'm like, you got a half right.
Yeah.
You need to be putting some electrolytes or sodium in there. And even it's just a quarter of a teaspoon of some
not
salt.
much. Yeah. It's not like I don't drink my water and my water does not taste like the ocean.
No.
You know, it's the salt's there, but.
And that even help with muscle firing too.
Yes.
You know, for guys that want that pump. You know, if you look at a lot of your pre-workout powders, there's only a few that I would even recommend, but a lot of them do have Himalayan rock salt in there and stuff like that because they understand the science of why that's important for performance. You look at any athletic, like you go to like some of the, you know, the professionals, cyclists and Olympians, they're putting salt in their stuff.
And the reason is because, you know, salt and potassium, two greatest things. So all of your muscle cells have a sodium potassium pump. When the muscle fires, they switch places. Muscle relaxes, they switch back. They go back and forth. So if you don't have enough sodium in there, that's going to be a problem. But so I link my water with my sodium.
Yes.
And step two is, you know, I have people that they're like, no, and it's sleep. And if you're not resting, your body's not recovering. If your body's not recovering, you can only push your body so far. And it's not going to go any further. You look at the greatest warriors in the world, you know, you talk about the Green Berets or the Delta Force or the Navy SEALs. You know, part of their training is, well, let's see if we can push them a week without sleeping. Well, at the end of that week, those guys are done. They are
hallucinating.
They can't, and you can't focus. You lose all that. So, you know, it's very important. We should be getting 7 hours of sleep.
Minimum.
And then, you know, my biggest thing is I try to teach clients that you can't lay in the bed and play on your phone and then turn it off and go right to sleep. That's not going to work. So you need to kind of tune that back.
Do some reading with a soft light on or something like that. Yeah.
And, you know, number 3, as we've talked about it, is you have to know what you're eating. People don't understand what they're eating. I hear people all the time, oh, my doctor says I need to make sure that I'm getting good fat. So I'm going to I'm going to use vegetable oil. You know, that's just soybean oil.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they used a dictionary. Soybeans grow from the ground, so that must be vegetables. So we're going to say this is vegetable oil. It says vegetable oil on the front. It does not say soybean oil. If it said soybean oil, people wouldn't buy it.
Right.
You know, and so you have to know what you're eating. That, once again, that comes back to that journal, because I'm not saying that you can't go somewhere and eat. You can't have ice cream. You can't have gelato. You can't have French fries.
Right.
But you need to know that if you have French fries on Thursday and on Friday morning when you're doing your journaling, you didn't sleep well.
Right.
You had upset stomach. You had that, and it might not be the potato, which is the carbohydrate.
Yeah.
It might have been the fat.
Right. What it was fried in.
That has upset your stomach. So until you write this stuff down and be able to look back and forth to where you can say, this is the problem.
Yeah. And back on the sleep thing, you know, I've always knew sleep was important, but I really started digging into the sleep aspect of it about a year ago.
Yeah.
I invested in a Whoop band, which was at the time, you know, my Apple Watch does a little bit, but the Whoop really dives in more of it tells you how much your REM sleep is, your deep sleep, how many times you wake up during the night.
Yeah.
You know, because it might say, hey, you were in bed for 7 hours, but you really only got about 4 hours of good sleep.
Right.
Because you tossed and turned all night. You were up 4 times going to the bathroom. And it measures like resting heart rate, HRV, heart rate variability. And it will actually, when I get up in the mornings, it gives me a score on how well I've recovered. And if I score low, it will ask me, it has a journal built in.
Yeah.
You know, did you eat this before bed? Did you have a lot of caffeine? How active were you? Did you have a stressful day at work? Did something happen? And it keeps up and it kind of learns your habits. So I got more dialed into that, and man, I'm like on a winning streak of like recovery, and I'm all about sleep now, man. Like I'm just like you said.
Yeah.
I have the bad habit of looking at my screen leading up to bedtime. Now I've been trying to switch that more to reading, but if I am looking at my screen because I'm dealing with a client or something like that, I'll make sure I got blue light blocker glasses on.
Yeah. To
kind of help a little bit of that stimulation in my brain. So just little tricks like that that I've kind of started doing, because I do now know how important sleep is. I mean, that if you don't get good sleep and consistent, man, it's your immune system's getting shot, your hormones are getting shot, your cortisol levels are going to be out of whack the next day. Yeah, so it's huge. I would say you're right. It's in the top. It's right there with nutrition and sleep's probably the top two.
Yeah. And, you know, we've got, you know, so our water, our getting our knowing what our sleep is, knowing what we're eating.
Yeah, journaling and being more aware, like you said. You know, I think a lot of people will order food and think they're just getting, like you said, they're like you said, oh, what's wrong with some potatoes?
Right.
Or French fries, they're natural, but it's what they're fried in.
Right. They added something to it that threw you completely off.
Right.
You know, number 4 is you got to know your medicine. I'm not telling you to question your doctor. You know, I would say that my two biggest doctors, my primary care and my endocrinologist, I would list them as friends. I list them as friends just because I've known them so long. My endocrinologist, I've been going there since I was 13 years old.
Man,
you know, we've gotten old together.
Yeah.
You know, and so. You know, when your doctor gives you medicine, I'm not telling you to argue with him right then, but when you go pick your medicine up, do some research. They give you some information about it. Your pharmacist is there to answer questions. I know it's difficult sometimes, but you can look this stuff up. You can see what the medicine's doing. What's the half-life of the medicine? What's the, you know, what organ system is the medicine going to work on? So for me, for diabetes, is there's a formula for somebody with diabetes. Let's say somebody weighs, they came and they started out weighing 250 and they get down to 225 and they start saying, well, I can't lose any more weight. I'm stuck. Okay. Well, my first thing is, if you're taking insulin, well, let's look at your insulin, because if you take your body weight, get it in kilograms, divide that by 2 or multiply it by 0.5, that's what the formula says, you're going to figure out what somebody's insulin need is for that body weight. Well, if their insulin need is for a body weight of 250 and they're still taking that amount, insulin's going to make sure that you stay at that 250 weight. And you fought it and got to 225, but you're not going to beat it anymore. Man. So the next thing is we've got to make some changes
to your dosage,
to where we can change that level that you're doing.
Right.
And, you know, it goes the same way. I have people all the time ask me, can I reverse my type 2 diabetes? And here's the short answer. Yes. But not until we get some labs done. And when I say labs, I'm talking about I need your hemoglobin A1C, and I need to know what your C-peptide is. C-peptide is a protein scale that determines what the beta cells in the pancreas are doing. So if you ask me if you can reverse type 2 diabetes, that let's say you've had type 2 diabetes for 20 years, okay? Your doctor still writes it on your chart that you are a type 2 diabetic. Right. But if we do a C-peptide and your C-peptide number is, let's say it's 0, no, you can't reverse that because you're no longer a type 2 diabetic. Your beta cells are not working at all.
Dang.
But if you come and your C-peptide is a 3, oh yeah, you're insulin resistant. And if you're willing to put the work in, you can reverse this. You can make it go away. A lot of people, everybody wants to do that. I would be willing to bet right now there's 30 million people in America with diabetes of some form.
Yeah, I believe that.
I believe if you ask every one of them the day they were diagnosed, do you want to reverse this? Or do you want to be sick for the rest of your life? They're all going to say, I want to reverse it. But the problem is they kept running into that wall. That wall just kept hitting them. I'm not losing weight. My numbers are fluctuating. So that's where a coach is needed. That's what, we think about let's think about the greatest athletes in the world.
Yeah.
The greatest basketball player ever, Michael Jordan. Do you think he only had one coach? No.
Nope.
He had a speed coach. He had a strength coach.
Right.
He had all that. Tiger Woods. Look at all the coaches he had that kept him at that level. Most people can't physically take themselves to that level without somebody pushing them. And I teach everybody that when you want to make a change, I need you to take a piece of paper right now. And I need you to write the date on it. And I need you to write WHY. And I want you to list. And if you can't fill that page up, you need to dig a little bit deeper.
Right.
But, I ask people all the time, what's your why? Why do you want to get healthy? And they all say, I don't want to hurt. Okay. Well, they make medicine to make the pain go away.
Right.
We need to dig a little bit deeper into that thought process. Mm-hmm. Why are we doing it? I'll tell you right now, my greatest why is my family. That is it. I want to be old and seeing I've got a grandson now and plan on having more and I want to see my great grandson graduate high school. I see further into the future, and I want to get to that point.
Yeah, I love those. I love those reasons. I think, you obviously told your story about your personal experience with learning about you having type 1, and you obviously used the fasting tool.
Yeah.
To help you kickstart to get healthy, but what I guess what a lot of people want to know is, all right, let's just say you do use something. I don't even want to use this word extreme, because it is kind of an extreme measure.
It is. Okay? I agree.
Even something like keto is almost extreme, because you're eliminating a whole food group.
Right.
All right. So let's just say you do use, and a lot of people do to this day, even if you don't have diabetes, use extreme methods to get the weight off. And I always say this: there's nothing wrong with using a tool in that toolbox for now to kickstart your process. But what happens a lot of times is people will lose the 30, 40, 50 pounds. Well, it gets to a point to where you kind of get tired of that using that tool. They don't know where to go from there.
Right.
So how did you personally learn to maintain and go back into a normal life where you could eat sourdough bread and
the biggest thing was writing stuff down? And it came to me that if you're going to do something today, can you take a piece of paper and can you write down on it that you're going to do this in 10 years? So if you're going to be a keto person, okay, are you going to write down that in 10 years you're going to still do this? So for me, do I 40-day fast every day of my life? No. That was that tool.
Right.
But what it is I now realize that I can actually take a day. I can pick any day of the month, and I can say, I'm not gonna eat anything this day. Not for a weight loss goal. This is strictly just to keep me focused. But I don't believe we should be eliminating a food source. And I'm talking about a true food source. I'm not talking about highly processed.
Yeah.
You know, it's I've heard you on multiple podcasts talk about, and Allie too, talking about peanut butter.
Right.
And in the hospital, part of education, and I hear people say this all the time, I'm having a low blood sugar, and so I need to eat graham crackers and peanut butter. Mm-hmm. No, you need to eat a rapid carb to get your blood sugar up.
Right.
And then if you wanted to have something like that, but people don't, they don't operate like that. They get into this point where they're having to do stuff. So I love peanut butter. I love the way it smells. I love the way it tastes.
Yeah.
Okay. Next time you go look at the grocery store, turn the peanut butter jar around and read the ingredients.
Yeah.
You know, why are they putting palm oil and sugar in peanut butter?
Yep.
You know, it's Smucker's makes a
just peanuts and salt.
Peanuts and salt. That's it. That's all it says.
Yep.
And it does have oil at the top of it. So you have to open it up, and I use a knife. I stick it down in there and stir it up.
I turn my jar upside down.
I do
stick
that
it in the fridge sometimes.
Oh yeah.
To thicken it up.
Yeah.
You can do that.
And once I get mine stirred up, but my peanut butter is literally peanuts and salt. And then, if you want to go one step further, if you got a high-speed food processor, just get you some raw peanuts and put them in the oven at 350 for about 5 to 10 minutes. And once they start, you look at them and they look a little shiny. They're pulling the oil out. Dump those in the processor and turn it on. You make your own. And then your peanut butter is literally just peanuts.
Right.
But it's
it's I don't know how you were raised, but I've had a lot of people come through my way that, man, honestly, they just grew up in a really environment where nobody in their life growing up had any kind of health influence on them at all. Their parents were very sedentary and overweight. Yeah. Nobody in their family worked out. As kids growing up, they were pumped full of processed, super processed, ultra foods. Right. A lot of microwave dinners. Just no control. So, all through their childhood and teenage years, and by a lot of times by the time they're in their 20s, they're already a lot overweight.
Right.
And just don't know. A lot of them never even had don't even know how to cook a chicken breast.
Right.
And know what just a regular sweet potato tastes like. Their taste buds have been primed to just have a fireworks show since they were babies. That when you do, when they do eat just sweet potato or some chicken, that they don't like it. It's so bland, because they're so used to that.
They need all the
artificial
added stuff too.
Additives, yeah. So it's definitely a process.
that's for me right now, this time of year, we've got 2 pretty big strawberry farms here in our town, and
love me some fruit.
I love to go get strawberries, and I don't need to put anything on them.
No, that's the thing, man, is like I tell people, like, get you a big bowl of watermelon and some blueberries and raspberries, and blackberries and strawberries.
Yeah.
And eat your heart out on that stuff. Get full.
Yeah.
And man, it's got the fiber, it's got the vitamins, and I promise you're not gonna gain any weight off eating blueberries and strawberries.
No, that's and that's my biggest battle for people with diabetes. They tell me, "Oh, I can't have a banana." Why?
Right.
Well, where did we get this idea that you can't have something that's truly nature? It is the perfect food. I like the fact of food that goes bad, because that means it didn't have anything added to it.
Right.
I saw a video. We're not going to bash an individual fast food chain, but somebody bought a meal the day their grandchild was born, and they waited 10 years and opened it, and it
still looked the same.
It looked the same. I was like, "There's no way that is real."
So
that is.
Tell me if I'm wrong. Wouldn't you agree? Just if you're really a person that's serious about making some changes and reversing this diabetes, I would just say it's safe to say, man, you just need to go ahead and cut out all fast food for now.
Yes,
just stay away from it, man. You don't need to be ordering out right now.
Right.
Like there's too much. There's too much real food out there you can buy.
And put a date on it. Say that I'm going to make this change. I have every morning going to work, I stopped and got a biscuit. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Well, let's put a date, and let's go 40 days down the road. And at the end of that 40 days, we're going to see how I feel. And if I want to do that on that morning, then swing in and do it. But remember, we need that journal. That way the next day you can say, well, not doing that again, or it didn't do anything to you. You felt fine. And in which case, okay, but it's something that we live in a world where everybody wants this instant.
Mm-hmm.
And, it is convenient to pull in, especially if you got kids. Let's pull through a drive-through and let's get everybody something to eat.
Right.
But it's something that
fast food, I'm like you. I'm a very, open, realistic person. I don't look at any foods as good or bad. I don't want to demonize anything, but because I also will rely on some fast food here and there occasionally when I'm traveling.
Oh yeah.
But I think a lot of your newbies and beginner people don't, if they truly understood, there's a huge difference in the nutrition and say fruit and some just ground beef you cooked at home and a sweet potato or oven fries versus a fast food meal. And that fast food meal, you may be looking at it as just a cleaner food item from that menu. Okay, well, it may be a better option, but it's still got its additives and it's still been processed. You look at, I love Chick-fil-A. I think they're a great company, but you can get online and see that the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich has got 60 ingredients.
Yeah.
A lot of added oil.
Yep.
And additives and MSG and so it's a huge difference. And when you're eating that from a cellular standpoint, it makes a difference.
It does.
On how it's metabolized. So that's why I think if you're really serious about reversing some of this stuff, you just need to just tell yourself, and like you said, stay committed to something for 40, 50, or 60 days. No more fast food.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna focus on eating just something I make at home.
There's some people out there on social media that they promote good brain health, and I saw this one guy. He challenges everybody to do a 50 brain cell challenge, and so his goal is in a day for you to keep up with what you're eating, not basically. So you said Chick-fil-A, so how many ingredients in a chicken
like
sandwich?
50 something.
Okay. So his is called the 50 brain cell challenge. And he says for every ingredient that you eat, you lose one brain cell. That's the way you need to think about it.
Right.
And so if you ate that, you've already gone to your 50 for the day. And that's what he's trying to get you to think. If you eat and you keep up with this, at the end of the day, did you only eat 50 ingredients?
Right.
And so that means that if you're eating, if you're cooking your own chicken breast, what's in there.
Just one ingredient.
Yeah. It's straight chicken, or you put chicken and black pepper on it.
Look at some ingredients, you guys. Like start looking at some labels. So like what I'm doing now is I'll categorize things. I'll encourage people to. Yes, in a perfect world, we would eat nothing but single ingredient foods.
Sure.
I know that's hard. I know it's very challenging. I don't do that myself 100% of the time. So what I'll try to do is say, all right, try to get in at least 60, 70% of your foods that's got maybe 5 ingredients or less.
Right.
How cool is that?
Oh,
that's a little bit more manageable.
Yeah.
And anything over like, say, 10 ingredients, just maybe sparingly, one time a day, every couple of days. And, that is going to be more like your just basic foods, man, Jesus foods.
Yeah. I like to tell people, turn the label over, read the ingredients. If you can't pronounce everything
especially if you
in
can't
there,
pronounce it,
probably not a good. If you can't say it, you probably shouldn't eat it.
And a lot of times they're only looking at the calories.
Exactly.
This is where a lot of people get it wrong.
Right.
They'll look at the calories, the macros.
Right.
But if you're metabolically damaged, and you got stuff off, you need to start being more aware of the ingredients because your body don't really. It does care how many calories, but man, the way it's processed and metabolized in your body, it makes a huge difference.
It does.
And if it's got 30 or 40 ingredients, there's some stuff going wrong somewhere, especially if you already got some damage.
And so, we get to my, knowing all that food, and we get to my 5th step, I changed the term and I call it movement. And that's where if I do eat something that is, I move every single day. I don't care if it's raining, you got to find something to do inside. Right. Here's the lovely thing. Do you know that most Walmart supercenters are based on the same footprint? So if you walk into a Walmart and you walk all the way through the produce section, and then there should be an aisle that goes all the way to the back of the store. Mm-hmm. Go all the way back of the store. And it's technically not the very back, then you walk that one, come up through however way the Walmart set up, the clothing section, back to the cash registers and back. If you do that 5 laps, that's a mile.
That's awesome.
And how many times has a Walmart employee told you, "Hey, you're walking too fast in our store"? I mean, if it's pouring down rain or if it's miserable outside, there's you an option.
Or go to our indoor track in Rome, which is called the mall.
Yeah, we have
Mount Berry Square Mall.
Yeah, Mount Berry Square's got they have a walking track, and they'll even tell you it's got a map, tells you how many steps if you do this, this path.
I actually had a client of mine that she was going through some rehab and needed to find a way to keep her balance, so she would use a shopping cart. All Absolutely. Right. Well, she got to go and doing that for a while. Well, guess what we did? She had somebody at Walmart help her load up a bag of dog food.
Oh yeah,
in the buggy.
So now she got some resistance,
man. Yeah, she's still getting her laps in.
There you go. And the nice thing about that is it's a perfectly smooth environment. Yeah, we don't have tripping. Steps. We don't have to worry about tripping over a rock or going up a flight of stairs. Right. So the options there. And once again, we come back to you got to be able to write this stuff down, keep up with it, and you need a coach.
Yep.
That is so important that you've got somebody that will, and I'm not saying that every single person in America needs to have a personal coach, but when I say a coach, I'm talking about somebody that will help motivate you. Yep. That, do you have a spouse that says, "Hey, let's go for a quick 15-minute walk." Everybody thinks that movement has to be, I keep hearing it over and over again, an hour or,
right.
So in the diabetes world, they say that every person that has diabetes got diagnosed, your doctor sent you to a class, once again, you don't get to hear it 7 times. So how much of it did you remember?
Right.
But one thing that always comes up is you need 150 minutes of exercise. Well, they say that
a week.
150 minutes a week.
Yeah.
And so I like to tell everybody that you need to break that down, because they say 150 minutes and they say 30 minutes 5 days a week. Well, what happened on those other 2 days of the week?
Right.
Are you still a human? Do you still have diabetes?
Yeah.
Okay. So I break mine down into 22 minutes a day minimum.
Yeah.
And that's in your 22 minutes a day. That only lasts for 3 weeks. If you're going to, if you want to get better, that number has to go up.
Yeah. Stan Efferding, he wrote a book called The Vertical Diet, and he teaches a lot of people how to use nutrition to heal stuff like high blood pressure and
Sure.
eating, getting the potassium and the sodium levels correct in your system. And he's real big on taking, I think, 5 or 10 minute walks after every meal.
Yes. Because what happens is the rapid carb that you ate, let's say you had some berries at the end of your meal. Well, those carbs got broke down in your mouth. You chewed them up, they went straight into your bloodstream, raising blood sugar. So if you went for that 10-minute walk right after, your body burned that up before you got back to the house.
Yeah. That's all it takes, man.
That's it. So you're eating it and using it. It's not a big thing.
And I've mentioned this phrase several times across my social media and even on the podcast. And I learned it from Lindsay Belcase at Shield Therapy. She calls them movement snacks.
Okay.
Just even for people that, work at an office job. They do a lot of sitting. She says, hey, set your alarm, to go off every hour or so, and may get up and go for like a 5-10 minute walk. Play it off like you're going to the restroom. You don't even got to tell your coworkers what you're doing, because a lot of people worry about, well, I can't just go walking when I'm clocked in. You can. You can go for a restroom or go run an errand. If you're at a car dealership or something like that, working with a guy now, he's hoping I don't get him in trouble, but he's been with me for 4 or 5 months, and he'll literally get up from his cubicle and go walk outside and around the whole car dealership and back around, and it's ends up being like a 7-8 minute walk.
Yeah.
And nobody even knows he was gone.
No, they didn't. I mean, and that 7 minutes goes to your end goal.
Yep.
I mean, if you can knock those out along the way, and it's not impossible. It is. It's a huge journey. I look back over my journey, and I hear people say, "Oh, well, I can't do what you do. I can't walk 12 miles on the Pinhoti Trail." And I said, well, do you think the first day I did it, I could do 12 miles? The first time I did and a little bit about the Pinhoti here in Georgia. Yeah. Well, I did a section that takes you up to a nice little overlook. And the first time I did it, I was like, I'm never going to make it to the top. I think at the end, it took me like 90 minutes to get to the top. Now I can get there in 30.
Right.
Everybody wants to speed the time up. Mm-hmm. Our time's here. So, don't set a goal that, I hear people all the time say that they're going to cut something completely out of their life. I'm never going to have another candy bar.
Right.
Why would you do that? Yeah. I mean, if you really like it, let's figure out how to put it in. Let's figure out how to do it. If you were eating, like, for example, I use this example a lot when I was face to face with kids in the hospital. And I would say, don't get the king size Snicker bar.
Right.
Let's get a regular Snickers bar.
Yeah.
It costs less. Okay.
Right.
And then when you get to where you can have one of those every couple of days, let's move and let's do the snack size Snicker bar.
Right.
And then I'm really going to help you. You can still have those snack size Snicker bars, but now you got to put them in the freezer.
There you go.
So now when you get it out, it takes it longer to chew it up. So now instead of just shoveling one right after the other, you've got one that's frozen takes you 4 minutes to eat.
True.
Go sit outside. You want to be all natural and you want to help overall health. You want to take your little Snickers bar, take your socks and shoes off, go stand in the grass, look out through your yard and eat your Snicker bar. Now you're
Right.
grounding, you're getting
Yes.
vitamin D, and you had your snack.
Love it, man.
It works.
So let's go through the 5 steps one more time.
Got to drink your water.
So that was your body weight, cut it in half, and that's the ounces.
That's how many ounces
And
you need.
Would you agree that, you know, a lot of times time's gonna get away. People do need to probably utilize some like reminders on their phone.
Absolutely.
Hey, do whatever you got to do to remind yourself to drink some water. They even make these bottles off Amazon that's got timestamps on them.
I saw that. Yeah.
You know, by 9:00 a.m. you need to be up to here.
Right.
You know, down to this line.
Yeah.
And just utilize stuff like that. You know, to just remind yourself, because it is gonna you're gonna have to do this for 30 days, 60 for it to become a new habit.
Before it's a habit. Yep.
Yeah, and I assume you would agree with this. If they need to flavor it with some Crystal Light or something like that to get it down, that's okay too.
Yes. You add a little bit to it.
Lemon juice, whatever it takes.
We add a little bit, and then we get to where we start craving it.
Yep.
That's our goal.
What's number 2?
Number 2 is you got to get your sleep. Your body has to recover.
7-8 hours a night.
Yep.
You know, there's people that I think truly do struggle with sleep from a medical standpoint, and
Right.
I feel for those people. I know they're trying medication, but we're talking about the normal person that's just being irresponsible.
Right.
You know, that's staying up too late,
Yep.
you know, watching TV too late, thinking they can just burn the candle at both ends. You know,
Right.
you may can get by on, you know, hear guys say, I can get by on 4 hours of sleep.
Right.
I promise you internally, you're not healing.
I know I've actually had a teacher when I was in high school that said that, you know, she never slept more than 4 hours.
Golly, I can't imagine, man.
I'm like, what? And she goes, I go to bed every night at 11 o'clock. And at 3 a.m., I am wide awake, and I get up, I read.
Man, that's mind blowing.
She would go for walks and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I couldn't.
That's a rarity.
And I think back to my days on the ambulance. If I worked a 24-hour shift and we got no sleep, and then the next day I only got 4 hours, that the day after that I don't think I could remember my name.
Right. So yeah, sleep's super important.
It is.
Step number 3.
Step number 3 is you have to know what you're eating.
So start journaling.
Start journaling.
On how you feel.
Keeping
after
up
eating
with
certain
that.
foods,
Right.
you know.
And then you have to know the medicine that you're taking. There are some medicines out there that will actually prevent you from losing weight. For example, you know, patients that have they end up with a horrible respiratory illness, and we give them, you know, 30 days of prednisone. Well, prednisone is a steroid, and it's a glucose corticosteroid. So what it does is it prevents the insulin from ever getting to the cell.
Wow.
So it makes their blood sugar go up, which makes them hungry. And then they break into that hunger thought and they eat. So taking a medicine can actually cause your weight to go up. And there's medicines out there to make it go down too, but you got to know what that is. You have to know, you know, your dosages. And the important thing about if you're on a prescribed medicine, and we talk about we're in the springtime in the South, so, you know, tornado season, you need to be able to make sure that you've got medicine that's going to get you through if we had a huge storm come through. You know, you have a way to protect it. You know, some medicines need to be refrigerated. So that's another thought on that.
Yeah.
Knowing that. Number 5 is simple. It's movement. You know, I used to always say exercise, and my wife says, well, exercise people think is a bad word. And because they've never had a positive, I'm going to exercise, and let's say they go to a big box gym.
Yeah.
And somebody's in there going, oh, we've got to push you and you've got to do this. Well, by the 3rd day they're doing it, they are so sore.
Right.
They can't put their clothes on. And is that a positive?
That don't have to be a step 1.
No.
You know,
it doesn't have to.
Like you said, just walking, man, for a lot of people is really the easiest thing to do.
Yeah. And when we do that walking and then we change our elevation, is now resistance.
Yep.
We added something to it.
And like you said, if you want to take it a step above that, you don't have to join a gym, but man, just 2 or 3 minutes of some resistance band work.
Sure.
You know, right there in the comfort of your own bedroom.
Yeah.
Can change the way your body metabolizes.
Yeah, everybody
carbs.
thinks that you have to. I have a person ask me. She goes, "I've got osteoporosis. Well, I can't do sit-ups. I can't do push-ups." And I said, "Well, sure you can
on the wall."
Now, doesn't mean you have to get on the floor like everybody else does. But yeah, lean up against the wall and do it. That's
out,
doing that. Or sit on the edge of your seat,
right,
and balance yourself, and then pick your feet up. Well, now you're working on your core.
Yes.
And you're not actually doing that sit up. There are ways to get around. I used to challenge people. It's hard to do this now because nobody watches standard TV, but I used to challenge people to watch TV with commercials, and they would all tell me that I've got to watch TV with my spouse, or I don't have time to exercise. I go, okay, we're going to watch TV. And when the commercial starts, you've got 30 seconds to get in position. So get a chair,
right?
Put a chair beside your recliner.
Yep.
That first commercial starts, get up. That gives you 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And only do squats during the second commercial.
Right.
Take a 30-second break. Third commercial, do this. And I said, do you want to work out and I actually timed it one time on the Hallmark Channel, and you watch a movie on the Hallmark Channel for 2 hours. Well, for the first 25 minutes, there's no commercial. And then after that, the commercials get closer and closer together.
Wow. Okay.
So at the end, you actually worked out for like 28 minutes.
Dang. Yeah. All while watching TV.
And it's all exactly, you're doing exactly what you wanted to do, but you're moving with an option. I still tell people this, and they're like, I hadn't seen a commercial in years. I
don't see it anymore.
I either watch straight movies or I
streaming service,
or I do something and then I fast forward through the commercials.
Yeah,
it's a way to jump. Netflix doesn't have commercials on it.
Nope.
So,
well, this I think I'm gonna add one more thing, and this will be really cool value for the listeners. What, in your opinion, what's some really good tasting stuff that people might be shocked that they can actually have for each meal? Like, what's a breakfast that we can really spell out for somebody listening that's okay to eat? If you're really wanting to, instead of swinging through and getting the biscuit, what's a breakfast? What can a breakfast look like?
So, you can prep your breakfast literally right before you go to bed. You can do a half cup of steel cut oats, throw it in a small mason jar. If you want to be really calorie oriented, you could put water in there.
Right.
Add some cinnamon to it.
Yeah.
And chop up a banana or some other fruit, whatever fruit you like. You can put that in there. Put the lid on it.
Yeah, let it soak overnight.
Let it soak overnight. The next morning, you can pour your to-go coffee, and you can eat that.
Right.
And it's carbohydrates, but your body's going to use it immediately.
Yeah,
it's a whole food. It's not you're not adding crazy things to it.
We actually sell the overnight oat bowls at the shop.
Okay.
And it's oats soaked in unsweet almond milk.
Okay.
And a scoop of whey protein isolate mixed in, vanilla tasting, and that's the base. And then on top, we give people options to put sliced banana or some flaxseed or chia seed.
Okay.
And all that stuff. Just blueberries.
Yeah.
They can add almond butter if they want. So it's literally you can eat it cold. That's the beauty of it. It's super convenient, like you said.
I like the cold and and lunch is fine. Everybody asks me all the time, salads. Salad's great. You kind of lose it when you cover it up with dressing. And so, I make cilantro pesto. So I just do cilantro, a little bit of water, some garlic. I like it spicy, so I put jalapeno peppers in it. And just like a handful of walnuts, and I can make a big bowl of pesto, and then I can have a salad, and I can put that on there as a dressing that is not just overloading
right.
with, I mean, you look at the back of your salad dressing and it's literally a paragraph of ingredients. So I try to make that break it down a little healthier.
Yeah. And then if somebody wanted to keep it super simple, like I'm talking like a person's been driving through the fast food restaurant every day for lunch or ordering DoorDash for step number one, or even, even now I'll make me a good sandwich. Every now and then. That's something you can prep the night before.
Yep.
Get you some good bread. If you can find some sourdough bread, that's great.
Sure.
But get the Ezekiel's, bread, and get you a higher quality deli meat. If you want to use that, 5 or 6 slices, and put you some lower calorie cheese on there and some other stuff, lettuce. If you want to use a little bit of mayo, get some that's made with some avocado, or the whatever, and it's not going to be the most natural thing, but that's going to be a heck of a lot better for you than what you've been doing.
Oh yeah.
And eat some pickles with it.
Sure.
Eat 4 or 5 pickle spears.
Yep.
With that big hearty sandwich.
So for all the people with diabetes out there, pickles are free food. Now, let me make that clear. A dill pickle is a free food. You start doing bread and butter.
Oh, the sugar stuff.
You can. But if you do a straight dill pickle, that's a free food.
I think a sandwich is probably one of the easiest things somebody could prep the night before.
Exactly.
Or a few days worth and wrap them up in plastic to get them by.
Then you can have your sandwich. You can have your pickles.
Right.
And then you can literally add some, you don't have to do that at first, but you can down the road, you can start adding more vegetables to it.
Yeah. Tomato and lettuce.
And then some sliced, you can do like some regular cucumbers or some bell peppers, slice all this up, and you can put some seasoning on it. Sure. And then you add that to it.
Right.
So you're eating single ingredients with your sandwich that's actually going to increase that fiber load and decrease that fat load. That's going to help you in the long run.
And then for dinner, instead of ordering a pizza or swinging through the fast food, what's something that somebody can do that's a little bit easier?
You can whatever you want. If you wanted to do like your a rice bowl,
perfect.
Do like an Asian rice bowl. If you had some cooked chicken on Sunday,
right.
I know a lot of people like to prep,
batch cook.
You could do some chicken, and then you could make some whole rice that does not take 3 minutes to make. It's actually going to take a little bit of time to be more of a whole food, an option. And then you can make like a soy sauce that you can put on. You chop your chicken up and sear it and get it warm again. You put that in your rice bowl, and then I would like for everybody to add some sort of vegetable to that
like
meal.
you said, you could do almost like a mimic teriyaki rice chicken or steak bowl from the Japanese steakhouse. Who don't like that?
Yeah. And you could make that at the house and do it. And you need to go back to using your hands. What can you hold in your hands? That needs to be what size you need to be. You don't need to be eating a Jethro bowl, but cut that size down. And so for dessert, I would if you had somebody that loves they got to have a dessert, then challenge somebody to really limit how much processed fat they put in their body during the day. And then at the end of that day, you could take a whole avocado, put it in a bowl, and are you ready? You can use a sugar-free chocolate pudding.
There you go.
Put it on there, stir it up really good, mix it. The green will go away. Just keep mixing it.
Yeah.
It will, and let it sit for a little bit. It will look just like chocolate pudding.
Man.
Love
that.
You've now eaten something that's
like a dessert.
Yeah. I mean, sure, the chocolate pudding's got more ingredients in it, but I'm not telling you to take everything away. I'm telling you to try to know what you're eating, know what you're putting in.
Yeah, I got some people that save like a quarter or a half of a dark chocolate bar.
Oh yeah.
For the dessert.
Yeah.
So
I know you have direct access to Publix. I've listened to podcasts in the past, and Publix has an international section, and my wife will go there. I don't care if we're going to Publix to pick up one thing. She's going to go down that international aisle, and she's going to pick up like dark German chocolate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That,
good stuff.
I mean, you can't find anywhere else. And that one little chocolate bar will last a week, you know?
Yeah.
No, you don't have to eat the whole thing.
So a little recap. It's breakfast. If you want to keep it super simple, this is somebody that's wanting to transition from the
like
fast food lifestyle that needs to drop some weight, really reverse some stuff. Is make your own overnight oats.
Yep.
Yeah. Like you said, you can make them. We make them up. You know, you can make up the whole week's worth, honestly, and go ahead and sit them on. They're good for 5 or 6 days.
Yes.
You know, and just grab and go.
Yep.
How convenient is that? You don't have to heat it up.
Yeah.
If you want to get some protein in there, mix your choice of flavored protein powder in there. It mixes right up. You can't even taste it. It's not chalky.
Yeah.
And put blueberries, strawberries, whatever toppings you want.
Yep.
For lunch,
just a simple sandwich,
a salad or a sandwich.
Yeah.
You know, make some sandwiches up for the week. Get you some bread. Throw 5 or 6 slices of like some good quality deli meat.
Yep.
Fresh slice like at Boar's Head at Publix from the deli counter. Throw you some fat-free or low-fat slices of cheese on there, lettuce, tomato. Make it hearty.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
And eat 4 or 5 slices of pickles with that.
Yeah.
And then for dinner, like you said, make you a rice bowl.
Yeah.
You know, you can batch cook these things. You can go ahead and get you a bowl or bag of rice or a rice cooker and go ahead and make 4 or 5 days worth of rice. Right. And this can be just jasmine rice.
Yeah. Yeah, we buy
whatever you want.
We buy, 50-pound bags of jasmine rice. So,
yeah,
you know, when I tell you that I eat,
yeah,
and then beans.
Yeah,
I mean,
beans.
we do.
Yeah,
we make a bean bowl.
Right.
So you know, you're doing the same thing. You can make an international flavor to it, or you can, you know, that's just an option.
Yeah, and add in some steak bites or chicken bites and make your own soy sauce.
And the first thing that I would like everybody to challenge is let's just do the meals.
Right.
Let's cut the snacks out.
Yeah, just do your meals.
Yeah.
And you know, if you wanted to plug in some form of just eating window, that can help things.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to use the prolonged fasting tool. But if you do want to do that, make sure you reach out to somebody.
Oh yeah,
can guide you.
Yeah, you need some help with that. There's going to be some challenges that are going to come along the way. That, you know, when you've got somebody that's walked that path, it's a whole lot easier to get advice from them than you're not blazing a new trail. It's already been done.
And I guess you would agree that it doesn't require prolonged fasting to help people reverse diabetes.
No,
but it can just be a kickstart,
right?
Kind of a tool that you chose to do that. Okay.
And I just sped up, so I basically took a 6-month window and
condensed it down.
Condensed it into a month.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it got me going into the right direction, and that direction continues. It's not going to end. I will be, you know, you talk to me in 10 years, I promise you I'm going to be on the same, because I found out that this works. The pain's gone away.
Right.
I go to the doctor and I'm never nervous about what the labs are going to show. It's something that's a wonderful tool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so I mean, it's challenge everybody that if you want to get on a journey for better health, first thing you need to figure out is what your why is, and can you do whatever you choose in 10 years? Can you still do it? And because this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. You're not trying to get to the end as fast as possible. You're going to make challenges along the way, and things are going to come up. You know, I promise you. You plan on everything being perfect. I promise you, something's going to come and mess it up.
Consistency over perfection is what I'll preach all the time. And one thing that's true is nothing will change until something changes.
You're right.
Like, you know, that's the biggest thing is if you just got to start and just be committed and know it's going to take longer than a couple of weeks.
It is.
You got to get that whole instant gratification out of your mind, man.
Yeah. But we live in a world where that's the way it is.
Yep.
I mean, you think about now, you want to order something. I remember being a kid, you order something online. It might take, 6
Right.
weeks to get here. Now you can go on Amazon, you can order
A day
it.
or two, yeah.
And in 40 hours, it's at your house.
That's it.
So we live in that, but health is not that way. Health does not happen instantly. It needs to take time, and it's going to change along the way. And there's people out there that'll help,
Yeah, and for you listeners, I think we're going to wrap up. But if you got any questions and you feel like you're ready to hire a coach or some, have some guidance, reach out to me or Richard.
Yep.
I'm going to drop some links and some contact information in
All right.
this podcast description. So
You put that on. I've got I have my website up and going here pretty soon, and
yeah.
so we'll help more.
Well, cool, Richard. Man, it was great having you on again.
I appreciate it.
And
Thank you.
I think we might do another one in the future. We'll
Shoot,
keep meeting
yeah.
up every few months and,
Yeah.
and doing these and
I look
providing
forward to
different
it.
strategies every time we get on. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and like always, if you got any value from the show, please drop us some review and share the show, and we'll catch you next time.